Hi there, this is Uchechi. It is 12 o'clock p.m. We are ready to kick off the New Year Success Planning Workshop. I am just going to give maybe a couple of minutes for anybody to join. And I'm going to see if anybody is on the chat box, if you can just make a comment if you're in. I know there's been a little bit of an issue. I did have to use, I apologize. I needed to change the login details because login detail, because the one that I used originally was not working with the webinar provider that I have. So I had to go through their old system to get it going. So let me know if you're here. I'm hoping everybody can make it. I'm just going to just give a couple of minutes to allow some people to join. Okay. I'm just gonna see if anybody else can't see all the chat box. If anybody else is here, I don't see anybody in just yet, but I will give it another minute or so. All right, I'm going to get started. It's now 2 minutes after 12, and it will be recorded. So if anybody misses this and so forth, everybody who signed up for this webinar is going to be getting all the replays. So if you can't make it live, I know, again, I'm having a lot of people not able to jump in because of the last minute change of the links, but I will make sure that the replay goes out to everybody that's registered. So I'm just going to jump right in. So obviously, if you're on this webinar, if you're going to be on it live or listening or watching the replay, it's because you are the proud owner of the Dream Life Designer Planner. So first of all, thank you so much for choosing the planners for your planner this year. I know for me, planners are something very personal. Every year, I always look through to see which planners that I love. And this is one of the reasons why I created the Dream Life Designer Planners. I did find one that they didn't have everything that I fully wanted in a planner. And so I created my own, and also to do something, to have something else as well that allows people to have a goal setting system. So sort of the same system that I use with my clients, my one-on-one clients, to help them with the support, accountability as we go through their goals and the deliverables. I wanted to have something built in there. So this is, I hope that you use the planners to really help you create some really great goals, some big dreams this year. I always love to say that if you have goals and dreams, the fact that the desire to have those goals in the first place means the resources, the abilities, the capabilities to make it happen, it's also present at the same time. So really it's about opening up to the awareness and really planning, putting strategies together, taking steps, action, no matter how small those steps in action may be, is going to help you start seeing all the different opportunities, all the different resources that will help you to attain those big goals and big dreams that you're after. So, okay, so we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to start off with just sharing a little bit about myself. I know some people who have my planners I know personally, and many of you I don't know. Some of this you may have bought through Amazon, received it as a gift. may have received that somebody as part of somebody's group. I know that's a few networking companies that bought a lot of it for their team. So if it's the first time that I am being introduced to you, welcome. Welcome to the webinar and welcome to my world. Sorry, I'm just getting some messages from people who aren't accessing it. So I'm trying to back and forth doing the webinar and providing the links at the same time, the new link. So yeah, welcome to my world. So a little bit about myself. My name is Ezurike-Bosse. I am a business and lifestyle strategist. One of the biggest thing I do is I help my clients find different ways to, increase their income, their confidence and freedom in their business, because that's something that's important to me in my life and in my business. So I help my clients to also do the same. I'm also the founder of My Empowered Living, which is an online platform that I use. I do a lot of my blogging there, and some of the other programs and resources that I do that based off of My Empowered Living. I'm also the author of my From Aspirations to Fulfillment, Bridging the Gap from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. So that little pink book in there. So this is a goal of mine that I was proudly able to bring to manifestation January of last year. So it's a book that's available on all major online booksellers. In addition, it's available at all Indigo chapter stores across the country. So if you're living in Canada, you're familiar with Chapters Indigo stores. Anybody else, it's sort of like Barnes and Nobles. But it's like similar to Barnes and Nobles in the States. Sorry, just going back to people who aren't able to come in. Okay, on it now. Barnes and Noble, so it's all available there. And as well, a couple of years ago, not last year, but 2016, I also published an ebook called Business Success Blueprint, your step-by-step guide to creating a profitable business you love. So this book is not available physically yet. It's only available right now through ebook format on Amazon. And it's a book based on my business success bootcamp. So I was sometimes people have different modes of learning. So some people may not want the online program route. So I actually translated a lot of the key concept of that program into a book, and which is available as an ebook online. My work has also been featured on Hay House Radio, which is Hay House Radio is the home of a lot of my favorite personal development teachers. So it was really a joy and a dream come true to have my work featured there. I also been featured on the Mompreneur and as well as the Huffington Post. So I am a regular contributor to the Huffington Post online. And so a lot of my work can be found there as well. And also, one of the biggest thing I've had is in the past, before I got into my whole business and lifestyle strategies and got into my books, my biggest thing was I had a wellness center in Toronto. That was my first real jump out of business. My sister and I owned a wellness center called Elite Spot Fitness and Therapy. So we had a therapy clinic, a yoga studio, a fitness studio where we did personal training boot camps, and as well as a skincare center. We were able to become one of the few providers in Canada that treated Department of National Defense in Canada. So it was such a great avenue for us. We saw so many great people, a lot of men and women in uniform that came to our clinic that we got to treat. So it was really a great opportunity. But when I had the wellness center, it was before I had kids, right? So before I met my husband. So I longed to be location independent. I didn't want to be stuck into a physical building. And I actually wanted to work with a lot of other practitioners that I had met through my business and really help them find ways to build their business and be more successful. And so we sold the location, our wellness center, and then I got more into my coaching, which has been great because now that I have my kids, which they're older now, my daughter there is like a baby, but she's 3 now, and my son's 7. It allowed working now has allowed me to be more location independent, which really gave me that freedom. That's, when I say I try to give freedom to help my clients get more freedom in their life and business, because it's something that was important to me. And it's such a great feeling to be able to have that independence to be able to, volunteer my kids' schools, pick them up at school and daycare, and just make my work around my schedule, make my work around my family schedule. Versus before, where when I had that location, it was a little bit more. It was my time was more. Wasn't more free, right? So now I get to work from home, and which is something has been a goal of mine, and that's to be able to make it happen. And so that's what I want for you guys right now. It doesn't matter the goals. Like, you might want a location specific business, which is great. It doesn't matter what it is that you're looking for. If you have the goal, again, it means you have the abilities and capabilities to make it happen. And it really starts with mapping out your goals, having a plan, being clear on what it is that you want to achieve. So today, my goal is to share with you my 3-step process to really having a successful year. And what you'll find is a lot of what I'm going to go through in this presentation goes along with your planners, because again, part of this is where I'm going to help you to find out the best use of the planners as well. But a lot of this planning and this workshop, if you've already started working with your planner, because of course in the beginning there's a lot of reflection questions and goal setting, you would have already started. So this is going to be serve as maybe a small reminder, and as well to help you go even deeper. And later on, I'll also share some other last minute sort of best practices that you can use for the planner as well. So jumping into the first step is really about review. It's important to start off 2018. You need to have a review of 2017. That's number one. And that's why it was important for me to add that review at the start of the planner. So you would have had the opportunity to review some of the questions that I prompted for you. So basically going through 2017 in terms of what went well, what were your happiest moments, right? And why that is important is because for you, there's going to be a lot of lessons that happen in 2017 that you're going to use to be able to carry yourself forward, whether for your new goals or to see different areas of opportunities. There's knowing, okay, what were your happiest moments, but also the biggest struggles and areas that you felt that you can improve upon. And what this also does, it gives you an opportunity to be proactive and to be aware of what happened, right? Maybe you didn't achieve certain things. Who were you being, right, when you didn't achieve it? Were you stuck in those self-limiting doubts? And even the things that you did accomplish, right? How was it? Maybe did you have an extra support this time around that made it different? Were you being something differently, right? So go back to those moments, the good moments, the not so good moments, and find out, how were you being in those moments for you to either have achieved or didn't achieve the certain things that you had originally wanted. So it's important to go back to those moments and extract the lessons. And again, too, is where the biggest lessons, too, of last year. We all had it. I think for me, for 2017, I remember entering the year saying, I'm going to use spirit, spirit, universe, God, whatever term you use. That was going to be my CEO. That was going to be my business partner. And to be honest, it was a year of lessons of having that come to play. And that was, I was at a panel end of last year, and somebody asked me that my biggest lesson. And I said that truly was, because I knew that during difficult moments and even the good moments and things or times when things were overwhelming to me, when I knew that it wasn't just about me and I leaned on the power that was bigger than me and much greater than me, it really helped me push forward. And I'm taking that in such a big way into 2018. So yes, it was a great thing that happened, but that big lesson for me, because I have bigger goals right now for 2018, bigger than I had. And if that worked for me, I'm going to use that in a bigger way as well. So I want you to be able to do the same for yourself, for the big goals that you may have for your life and your business. The other part on this slide I talked about is a SWOT analysis. So this is something that you also would have done in your planners, for those that have already started working on it. A lot of people, if you're in marketing, you would have seen a SWOT analysis, of course, standing for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I do this personally. I do this for my business. And it was important, again, for me to include this in the planner because it gives you a starting point. It's all about awareness, right? Yes, we're going to go into goal setting, and some of you have already started because we are into the second. We're in the second week of the year, so you've already started. But it's one of those things where when you start to kind of like a GPS, right? When you want to put in, if you want to calculate how to get to a certain place, you need the starting points, right? Because it helps you to identify the gaps. It helps you identify where you need to go. So if you haven't already done so, it's important to do that SWOT analysis. And like I talked about in the planner, your strengths and weaknesses or more your internal factors, things that you have more direct control over. And the beautiful thing about your strengths is about highlighting it and again bringing awareness to it is then you can look at ways you can maximize that, right? Or how can you share that with people around you, whether it's in your workplace or in your business? How can you maximize those strengths? And then for your weaknesses, right? Your weakness is not this exercise shouldn't be about making you feel bad about things that you may think that are weak in you, because it's not. It's just a matter of, okay, how can I become more proactive? How can I minimize that? Again, later on in the planner, and I'm going to talk about this, is when you start looking at putting your plans in place and becoming more strategic. If you need to get support, this is why it's important for you to look at your different weaknesses, right? Because then what happens is, then if you need support, then you're going to get support. You're gonna get support on the areas that you may be weak in, right? So that's an important thing to do, and an important place to start. So really, again, it's not about feeling bad about yourself. This is just a great opportunity to be able to a great opportunity to sort of see where you need to get extra support in. And the same thing, opportunities and threats work in the same way, but except for opportunities and threats are more external factors, things that you don't have direct control over, right? So like things, maybe opportunities are there's stuff happening in social media, but it's not, but you can also take advantage of opportunities by learning more about it, right? And then, so again, how can you maximize certain opportunities and minimize your threats, right? And so this is a great opportunity for you to write things down. So maybe for your threats and maybe for your work or for your business is where, consumers are very price sensitive. So if there's any issue in terms of the economy, you're the first place where they cut their costs, right? Or it could be where, a threat could be where you have a lot of strong competitors in your industry. So the barriers of entry or the barriers of expansion is much smaller. So those are different examples of threats. And then opportunities are things, maybe like things that you can collaborate in, or even for opportunity could be maybe where there's a lot of people are spending more money in, right? Or, your industry that targets people in the older demographics, who we know there are a lot more people in the older demographic now, right? So this, again, is for you to write it down, write everything down, a great opportunity for you to know where you need to move forward with and how you need to adjust. And as you start to plan, as you start to put the players in place to help you towards your goals, you can refer back to this snapshot to help you move forward. So that's the first one. It's review. It's all about awareness. It's all about, okay, this is my starting point. This is sort of my baseline, and now to move forward, okay? Now, getting into step 2. So step 2 is all about goal setting. And give me a second. I'm just going to have a quick drink of water. So step 2 is all about getting into the goal setting, getting into the detail of it. And again, this is an alignment with the planner and things that you would have done already or would start doing as you start to plan out your goal. The first thing I always have somebody do, and the first thing that's always important when you really want to map out your year, is to do the brain dump, right? Just brainstorm everything that you want. And that's that first page, and I made it a full page because I want you to get everything on paper. I want you to just take it from your head to your paper. Just that exercise alone of taking it from your head onto paper, the mental energy it clears up in your head is profound. It gets it out of your head because now you're not stuck. You're creating the space to allow the house to show up for you. And now you have it written down. It's not something where, okay, I have to remember this. It's out from your head onto paper, right? So this is important to just data dump. And again, when you're writing this very first part of it all, don't restrict yourself. Something to yourself, there is no way that I can accomplish this in a year. Forget about that. Just write everything down. Whether or not you accomplish everything this year that's going to be on this first sheet of paper doesn't matter. Right now, the whole exercise and the importance of it is just to get it from your head onto paper. Okay, so doing that data dump is important. And then after that whole data dump is really looking at your big list, right? Looking at all the big goals that you have and start to think to yourself, which ones are the most important? So which ones are the ones that are able to help push yourself and your business forward? Which ones are going to be able to make the most impact in your life and in your business? And pick 3 or 5. And the reason why I didn't get you to focus on everything is because that is where overwhelm comes, right? So if for you, if it's where you feel like, okay, I'm just going to take one and just break it down and work on that, that is absolutely fine. I would always suggest whether it's minimum 2 or 3 to 5, take that and start rewriting it, right? And start mapping it out. And so the second step is when you take those goals and now you're making it more specific, measurable, and timely. And so, kind of like the example that I gave in the planner. So, a lot of people I always hear, I want to make more money. I want to make more money. Okay, so how much more money? Because, the example people always give is I can give you 10 cents and you have more money, but that's not what you want, right? That's not changing your life. So be specific and make it measurable. So it could be where maybe you want to double your sales from $50,000 to $100,000 in 1 year. That's measurable, specific, and it has a time factor to it. Or maybe you want to take 3 vacations this year, right? It doesn't have to be about work. Like maybe that's what it is. Or maybe you want to lose, 20 pounds and become firmer within 6 months, right? So take those big goals, the data dump that you've done, and really take the ones that are important for you that's going to help move your life forward and rewrite them in that space that was provided. But this time, really become clear because then again, it's going to be about measuring those goals. You want to make sure that you are on the right track. And that when you're writing it in a measurable way allows you to be able to track it properly. And then the other part is to write down why these goals are important to you and your business, right? And I want you to be very clear about this and just like really be intimate and really sit with this and really go deeper, right? And keep going, why? Like, if it's to make, to increase double your income, why? To hire more people in my business, to be able to hire people who can do things that I hate to do. It could be where it's now, if there's more money left over for you to take do that 3 trips a year that you want to take, right? Just why do you want it? And even for all that, and now that why, go even deeper. Okay, so if you want to go on that trip, why? Because I want to spend more time with my kids. Why? Because I want to be more present. Why? Because I want to have more connection with them, right? Keep going deeper, right? Keep going deeper. Because what I want you to get is, because when you start going after your goals, there's a lot of work. There's going to be a lot of work. There's going to be a lot of frustrations. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to come in the way. Because here's the thing, when you start to reach towards something, in the beginning is gravy. You might have that, what they call beginner's luck. Things start to go in alignment, right? But what tends to happen too is when you start to make certain steps, and these steps are not what you're used to, they're outside of your comfort zone, your subconscious mind is made to keep you safe. Right now, you actually achieving your goals, if it's not consistent to the way you're used to being, your mind is going to scream. It's going to say you're not safe. Things are going to happen. Circumstances are going to happen that it's going to put little resistance in the way to keep you stuck, right? Or keep you, I'm not necessarily stuck, but keep you maintaining the same level that you're at. And so when you really can understand the whys behind what it is that you're doing, it helps you push past all these negative feelings and resistance that's going to come up for you. So the more intimate and strong your why is, the better that it's going to fuel and sustain your efforts. And also understanding your why is also understanding what are the consequences for not accomplishing your goals, right? Be clear on this. Sometimes we set our goals and then we forget to say, okay, well, if it doesn't happen, what then? I know a lot of people who are working full-time job, they are commuting, they're in jobs that just are making them miserable, that are making them physically sick, and they want to get out and they have some plans in place. The consequences of that is their ill health, um, deteriorating in relationship, because when they come home, I've heard about it where they come back home after a day of work and they're in tears, like buckets of tears. That's not healthy, right? And the consequences of not having a way out, you're stuck in that. So when you have that clear, vivid picture of what you're stuck with if you don't achieve your goals, again, it helps maintain your efforts. It helps push you forward. It helps when all the drama comes in, that it helps you keep moving forward. That's what that's what it is to identify, the why you want it, but as well, what happens if you're not able to achieve it, and you don't move forward. And then the last piece there is about determining if your goals are aligned to your personal values, right? So this is one of the parts about, I asked, why are these goals are important to you? Because you have your personal values, right? Again, one of my biggest things are freedom. And so when I look at my goals and I look at why I want them, when I strip it down and I go deeper and I go deeper and I answer why to the why to the why, a lot of my goals really comes down to having more freedom. And sometimes when I find any goals that doesn't align to that, that's when I know I'm chasing the wrong things. That's when I know that I'm looking at, I'm going after that shiny object syndrome that we all hear about. That maybe I see somebody on Facebook posted something, I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. And, we all have that, I want to do it too. And then we're like squirrels chasing these new things that we see. But when you come from a place of seeing certain goals and tasks, and you're breaking down why you want it, and you're really clear on the different values, your core desired feelings, and all the values that you want and the mission that you want for your life and for your business, you're able to now evaluate all the stuff that all your goals, all the stuff that you're wanting to achieve. You can evaluate it based upon that. And so to allow yourself to know that you are chasing the right things, right? The last thing you want is to do all this work, you achieve that goal, and then you realize that it's not really what you want. And sometimes you may not realize that until you get there, right? And sometimes those goals will change, and that's okay. And even if your goals change throughout the year, that's fine. Just like mine changed. Like, it was such a big goal for me to open up a 3,000 square feet wellness center with all these healthcare practitioners and everything else. But when I got to a point where I had my first child, I had my son, and I was longing for freedom. I was longing to just be home, do things from my home computer. That changed for me, and that was okay. So that goal of going to a location, having this big building that I'm looking after with all these people that I'm working towards, it was no longer in alignment to my soul, what I wanted. And not like that's not gonna, and the thing is, that might change in the future. When my kids are older, I might want to have that. That's okay. So that's okay. I just want you to ensure that where you're at right now, all the stuff that you're setting for yourself, I just want you to ensure that it's in true alignment with where you're at right now. Okay? All right, I'm going to take another quick water break. And oh no, I'm seeing all these emails coming in with people missing it, not being able to log in. Again, I will be sending all the replays out to everybody that's missing it right now. That's missing it, so it's not letting me log in. Okay, we'll get there, and maybe we'll do around 2. I don't know. We'll see. But definitely, I'm glad that there's a replay being done. Okay, so that was step 2, and then to get into the final three-step process is all about strategy planning. So, which is important. We have our goals, we have it set up, but then really it's about how are we going to make it happen. And again, if you've started your planners, that was really important that I included some of these things or questions to ask yourself to start putting things down that will help you get there. So to really get into the strategy is really to really start to look at your goals and now getting into the details of what needs to happen for it to manifest, right? So answering the questions in terms of, what do you need to accomplish in order for your goals to happen? And some of the things you may not know right away, you do research, you can do the research, you can Google your friend, but there might be certain steps, right? And again, I have the space on the planners for you to start making notes and jotting down different ideas, and that's why it's there. That's why it's there for you to put in. And again, to good best practices, as you start writing and as you start going through your months and the year goes on, when things come up, go back and write it down, because this, to me, this is like your working plan, right? It's my goal and hope that you go back to the beginning and really review the plans on a consistent basis. And I did, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. This is why some of the monthly reflection questions, certain things has you going back as well to ensure that you maintain what it is that you wrote. So it's not necessarily that you wrote it once and you leave it and you go through the calendar year. That's why it was so critical to put those monthly check-ins, because it helps you to go back and keep your goals front and center. So, but really understanding what do you need to do to accomplish this, right? And then what support, what resources or investments you need to achieve your goals. So going back and thinking this through, and even for yourself right now, if you haven't worked on your planner, let's think about that right now. Let's start looking at what do you need to do to make it happen. And then for the support, this is why I did the SWOT analysis. Going back to your weakness, right? Maybe you hate tech. You hate tech, right? And not everybody loves tech. There's a lot of people, sometimes I love it, sometimes I don't. But maybe it's, you need support in tech. You may need to get a VA, even if it's once a week or twice a week, and all they're doing is your email marketing and your, even now, like trying to get this tech, the whole webinar platform. I haven't used this webinar platform for like so long, and they had an update to it, and the one that I created wasn't working. But then I had a new link, and I'm not seeing anybody now jumping in. I'm getting all this emails about people not, logging into this particular one. So that's a big challenge for me as well, too, right? So, but it's looking at where can you outsource help, right? There's that tech part. If you go through your thing, if your weaknesses or different threats that it's in your industry that you've identified when you did your SWOT analysis, that's going to help you now answer those questions, the areas that you need to get support, or what you need to invest in. Is it a course to be better, right? Maybe you need to hire a coach or a mentor, or join a mastermind group, a group that has different complementary businesses that can share ideas that can help you grow your business. Right now, you have your goals, you have how you measure, you need to measure it. You've already understood, or you've got the awareness of where you're starting from, where you need to grow, where you need to develop, all the different things that you need support in. Now it's your time to really, in this particular place, to start answering what investments you're going to make in yourself to be able to overcome it and to ensure that your goals happen. And then the other part of this is, the other question is really, what actions can you take on a daily or weekly basis to help you move forward in your goal? So, one of the examples that I gave again in the planner, maybe it's weekly blog posts, right? So that way you're engaging, you're building your know, like, and trust factor. You're attending a networking event every single month to be in front of your ideal customers. But again, ensuring that those are the right events that you're attending has the people that you want to target. What are the things that you can do? And it could be where you have somebody that's going to hold you, maybe somebody who can hold you accountable, and having that person to support you, right? So whether it's a paid person or a good friend who's in a complementary business or in the same business, that you guys can really help move you forward in all the goals that you have. But make sure that you have the action plan on it, whether it's daily or weekly, and put them in. You have your weekly view. on your planners in there. So the weekly view, once you've identified in the beginning, because you guys would have written all these things down, the goal is whether you take January, all those weekly things that you need to do, go into that weekly deliverables, or if it's a personal commitment, go in those sections and write them down before. Because then when you start to go into your weeks, when you flip it open, your task is already there. It's front and center. It's not forgotten. You've done the work, the pre-planning. You're doing, you've done the research. You've looked at all the stuff that you know that you need to do to push you forward. Have it written down. It's going to be in your face. And I know too sometimes, and again, it's not going to feel comfortable. I know sometimes, especially heart-centered entrepreneurs, we're always about alignment and in the flow, which is so important, which is key. But to make massive change and have massive results in your business, sometimes it's not going to feel like you're in the flow. Why? Because you're doing something that's inconsistent. Your subconscious mind is going to think that you are in survival mode. You are not safe. So all the whistles are going to be blown to you saying, don't do this, step back, all this stuff, right? But if you have it written down, you know what you need to do, then you can use willpower to say, I'm going to make this happen. Right? What happens is sometimes I find with people where they want to wait till they're in the flow or in alignment, which is great, but sometimes you're not always going to feel that way. You're not always going to be motivated. You're not. Most often, you're not going to be motivated. And especially if this something is inconsistent to the way you're currently are being, you're not going to want to do it even more. So that's why it's important to have it in your face, all your tasks and your goals. That way, when you come to that week, when it's sitting in front of you on your workspace, you have it there. You can take action. Whether it's you say to yourself, I've already identified this needs to be done. Even if it means I'm not going to do anything, I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes only. And once that 20 minutes is done, I can do whatever else that I want. That's fine. Just set that timer on and just focus on that one task. Okay. And then the last piece about the strategy planning is really identifying how will you measure progress. And you would have already identified that, where if you would have rewritten your big data dump into a more measurable and specific goal, the way to measure it's already there, right? And that's, again, another reason why it's important, because you want to be able to measure your progress along the way, right? Whether, you do a check-in every month, every quarter, and you measure, okay, so if your goal, just using the example that I did before, or that I actually included in the planner, to double your income from 50,000 to 100,000, now, that's $50,000, right? So every month you're looking at it and saying to yourself, okay, did I increase my goal, whether it's 10%, 20%, right? How am I tracking? It's important to track it, because if you don't track it, you're just hoping and dreaming, right? And you're not able to hold yourself accountable, or even to have a sense of urgency in your life and in your business to do something, right? So when you have a way of tracking and measuring your progress, then you can sit down with yourself and say, okay, what needs to change? What needs to happen? Maybe I need even more support than I thought I did, right? Maybe I need to invest even further into certain things for me to achieve it. But when you're able to track and measure it, and you actually do it, allows you to do just that, okay? So that's the third part, the third step in the strategy planning. So really step one was all about review and really about awareness. Step two, we talked about really getting into the goal setting. And then the step three was really strategy planning, finding how to make it happen, and which again, that's what the planner is about. That's where in the beginning, it's really about having that space for it. And if you don't know right now, again, there's always so many information out there. One of my mentors, Marie Forleo, always says everything is figure outable, and she is absolutely correct. Everything truly is figure outable. There's so many people, like, you're not doing anything new. I'm sorry. Like, I think all of us, we're not doing anything new. Somebody else have been in our path, and somebody else can show us, whether it's, professionally, or we pick up a book to read, follow certain blog posts that gives us some path, like the way to the path. There is ways out there. So there is a ways that we can keep going and to measure our progress and so forth. Okay. So that's the strategy planning. And then this last piece is really about considerations for success. So this is just like a general one, and I'm going to just go over this before I get into some, just some little tidbits parts about the planner and the notes. But some of the consideration is, number one, it's always important to have a clearly defined goal and write down your goals. It's crazy if you write down your goals on a consistent basis, you just rapidly expand your possibility of making it happen. That in itself is huge. That in itself would make you want to write it down. And this is why every single month there is that accountability. There's writing your goal. There's that presetting the month exercise, right? And even on the weekly view, right? That's why I included all of that stuff. Because when you write it down, you make it real and you start the work to make it happen and you start to see the different opportunities. So just make sure it's clear that you can truly see it and write it down. Another exercise I'll personally share that I use, obviously I use my planners, but I also have another book, just like a blank sheet of paper. And every one of my goals this year, I've missed a couple of days because I had some stuff that happened in my family that I just couldn't, I wasn't able to do that as exercise. But now that I'm back, I've really recommitted to it. Every day I write my goals as if it's happened and I'm calling it into existence, right? I'm not sure if anybody has ever read the book Success Principles by Jack Canfield. There's a segment he puts in that he had in there about, and I actually shared this story in my book, From Aspirations to Fulfillment, but there's a story he shares about this girl who, I think she was in sales or something like that, and they had to come up with this huge amount of quota. And she found something heard somewhere about getting a book, and the whole premise is you write down what you want to happen, and the whole thing is by the time you get to the end of the book, it would have manifested. So she got the smallest book that she can find, and just start writing about the people who need her products and how they want it in a great way and how she's closing all this sales and all this commission that she's making. And lo and behold, I don't know how long after, but she runs into this gentleman, I believe in the same building where her her workplace was, who totally needed it. It was an industry that needed it. Their sales target through the roof. And I think that story too was where if they didn't reach that quota, they would have all been laid off or something like that. So, this exercise is so important. And a lot of my teachers and mentors that I follow, they all journal their life, they journal their goals. And this is an exercise that I've started to take. And so it's all about being clear. So I write clearly as if it's happened, what I want to happen on a regular basis. And honestly, it's been miraculous. It's just been insane. And it's not part of the planner and might be something in the future. But this is something that I do that's helped me so much. That's made just crazy, miraculous opportunities that's come my way. And it's an exercise that I would love for you to have as well. So have that clearly defined goals and write it out. Have a clear image, right? A crystal clear image in your mind of what it is that you want. Again, have it in your head, write it out. That's another thing about the journaling. It makes you really see it in your head. A lot of you here probably, we all know the law of attraction, and what you focus on, what you focus on, you'll attract into your life. That's part of the exercise about really seeing it and visualizing, knowing your goals to that concrete level. And that's why every month I have that exercise about pre-paving your month, and for you to read it, sit in that energy and feel as if it's a done deal. Because once you do that, it will become a done deal. Okay? And then become passionate about your goals, right? So it's a new year. The excitement is here. And right now the excitement level is higher. But of course, as the year progresses, that excitement wanes, right? So it's important to really be passionate about your goals. Don't let the things you write down just be about things that you think you can accomplish. Put some big, audacious goals in there, right? The higher you can aim, the higher you're going to be able to achieve. So really just be passionate and make sure that it's in alignment. The whys of your goals are so intimate. You love it. It just gets your heart pumping, makes your juices flowing. It's something that's so important to you because, again, we know the process is going to happen where things are going to come up. The limiting beliefs are like, oh, there's no way you can double your income. Who are you kidding? You've never doubled your income in your life. What makes you think you can ever do it, right? Those things are going to come up, but the passion and seeing it on a consistent basis will help push away all those negative voices that comes up in your head that tells you you can't. Okay, so really be passionate. The other part is get accountability and support, right? Really, in terms of planning, that's why I created the planner. It's like that. It's a way of having accountability, but I would always say go a step further. Enlist the help of somebody, whether it's somebody who's a close friend, who's in at your workplace, or who's a fellow business owner, that you can say, you know what, on a weekly basis, can we just connect? I'm going to write down my goals, my deliverables, my income goal, things I need to get done, and can you hold me accountable, and I'll hold you accountable, right? It's such a great exercise to do, and this is something years ago I did with my sister, and it was a game changer because I had somebody who I knew on a weekly basis I had to account for. This is why, I mean, if you're in a corporate world, you're used to that, but people who are business owners, aren't used to having somebody that they're accountable to, right? If you're business owners, you're on your own, right? So, but this is a great way to have that. You need support. Again, whether it's a formal mentor or coach or a mastermind or an online community or a face-to-face mastermind group or networking groups who have people who are like-minded, who get what you want to do. Join them, be with them. But again, it's got to be people that hold you accountable, and not just people, because I've seen it. I've seen some groups of people where, they join a group of people who don't hold them accountable, who, if they show up and they were supposed to do something and they let them off the hook, like, oh yeah, that's okay, you weren't in the flow, so that's fine. No, it has to be people that call you out on the BS that you're used to, right? Like it's got to be those people, because it's not good enough if you have the goal and you've written it down and they don't hold you, right? To do and get what you've never gotten before, you need to be somebody different, and you need those people in your life, your accountability partners and mastermind groups, to hold that space for you, to hold that mirror, to show you the possibilities of what you can be. In turn, it'll help you rise up to that person. So they need to see you as that person and hold that space for you to step into that person, right? So, support is so important. Get it if you can. The planner acts as some kind of support, but find somebody who you can work with on it. It'd be great if they have a planner, but if not, you have your planner. They can write down their goals on a regular basis, and you hold each other accountable, right? So important to have accountability and support. And then the other part is to celebrate small wins. Part of the monthly questions, I talk about that. I have, how are you going to celebrate, when you achieve your goals, and to go in and schedule it in. These are going to act as the little fires in your life as you start to achieve your goals, right? Because you get tired, things happen. Celebrate those small wins. This was a huge lesson for me in 2016, right? I talk about extracting lessons from the year. That was when I did my exercise. That was something that I got from 2016, because 2016 was a year where that's when I actually finished writing my book, From Aspirations to Fulfillment, but it didn't get published till January 2017. But I had that book, but I also had my book that I just talked about, Business Success Blueprint. I wrote all of that stuff, and I started working on the planners, and I had these clients, and I was growing my business, but I never celebrated it. It was literally like I accomplished one goal, boom, the next goal happened. And I'm a goal setter and planner, but that was not good. And that was, for me, that was a huge, important lesson that I needed to really sit and absorb what I've accomplished, you know what I mean? And really pat myself on the back and see the progress that I have. And you've heard it before, life is it's about the journey, because there's always going to be the next one, the next thing. So really, we need to ensure that journey, that process, is a beautiful one. It's one of alignment. It's one that feels good. And it feels good when we're able to sit and say, yes, darn, look what I've done. Look what I've accomplished. I'm proud of myself. Be proud of yourself. That energy of feeling proud, again, it gives you more of that fuel to be in that space of achieving more of things that you are going to feel good about, right? So don't ignore that. Celebrate those small wins, even if it's a small mani-pedi. Even if it's getting your hair done, I love getting my hair done, getting that, head massage and stuff, just whatever it is, right? Treat yourself because you're working hard and you deserve to be compensated, or not compensated. You need, yeah, compensated in the sense of, treating yourself for it, right? So celebrate those small wins. Sorry, another water break. And then the last consideration for you, really, it's about being consistent and not giving up, right? It's all about consistent action. And whether it's daily, doesn't matter how big or small the action is, just take it. Um, One of the things I see with people is, which may be a good thing, or a bad thing for them, where they have goals, they set the targets, they start doing this for the first time, and then they start tracking their goals, which a lot of people don't do. But then sometimes what tends to happen is they'll get disappointed if that first month they didn't hit their monthly goal. And that's what this is all about, right? This is about measuring yourself. And again, being able to adjust and react and get additional support if and when you need it. But it doesn't matter how slow you're going, just never give up. Never give up, never give up, right? Like, your goals are there. I always see people give up way too soon. I've done it in my life. There's definitely lots of things that I've given up way too soon that definitely, I know, if I would have stuck with it, would have led to better success. And this is something for me where some of the goals, it doesn't matter how slow I might be progressing, or I might feel that I'm progressing, I'm going to move forward, because especially if I know that the goal, my why is intimate, it leads to my freedom. It's something that's really truly aligned to my values. I'm gonna keep going and maintain it no matter what, right? So this is my hope for you, is to keep going and being consistent in your goals. Things are gonna come up, things will show up, right? The frustrations are going to happen, but it's important to show up and keep pushing forward, because I'm telling you right now, don't stop 3 feet from gold. I was reminded by that. Somebody had posted something about Think and Grow Rich, and it reminds me of a story from Think and Grow Rich. There's a part in there, that's that Napoleon Hill book, the really big classic book that every personal development teacher has read numerous times. But there's a story he talks in there that talks about 3 feet from gold. And this is a story about, I think, back in the days where people went digging for gold, right? So there was somebody who saw that, heard that there was going to be this gold at a certain location. So he went, bought the fancy equipment, everything, and he's to start digging, and they're digging for gold, right? And eventually, he keeps digging, he keeps, he's not finding it. He gets frustrated, and he's just like, I'm done. Like, I'm totally done, not doing this anymore. So he went and sold his equipment to this other person. And so this other person started digging, and literally 3 feet from where that other owner stopped digging, the gold was found. And so I try to remind myself of that story, and I want you to remind yourself of that story when things get difficult, right? Because right before dawn, right, it's always the darkest of the night. And it reminds me of another quote. I'm going to paraphrase because I'm not saying it exactly the right way, but it's from, I love her, Florence Scovel Shinn, which is a metaphysical teacher back in the 1900s. She wrote this amazing book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. But she has this amazing quote from that book that says, every great work, every great accomplishment was brought into manifestation. And just before the miracle happens comes apparent failure. That always happens. And I know for me, as the year progresses, things happen. I always say to myself, okay, wow, something great's about to happen. I'm going to stay focused. Just knowing that allows you to not to get yourself into that negative spiral that's just going to take you back on, take you off track. So that is my whole thing. Number one, just always take consistent action, even if it just means, I'm just going to go to one event this month. If I normally go to 4 or 3, I'm just going to go to one because I just can't anymore. I'm just feeling frustrated. Just do one thing, but just don't give up. Okay? Awesome. So before I end, I do want to touch base on some little notes on specifically on the planners that can help you, whether you use it or not, but this will be some great tips for you guys. So just a note, so for the financial abundance section, so there is the section where it's a one pager that gives you a view where I have you write out your, how much you want to make in 1 year. And then there's a section in terms of breaking it down by month. So make sure you use the monthly targets you set and move them into your monthly view. Okay. So you'll notice before every month, there's like the reflection questions before the month. And then I also get into, okay, what are your goals and intentions for the new month? And then there's also another question about how much you want to make. So if you wrote in, in February that you're going to make $10,000, in February, where I ask about how much you want to make in February, go back to this page and write it in. You've done the exercise, just rewrite that part in. Yes, things might change, and if you change your goals along the way, which I actually suggest people do, like I always for myself and for my clients, sometimes we do a sales target. As the month goes on, like pretty much after getting into Q2, so the second quarter, so April, May, June timing, I'll look at the trends of how we've been trending in sales and see if there's any adjustments that's needed. But for you right now, I do want to say that on that financial abundance page, to make sure that you move your monthly goals into the monthly view as well. That way you have it front and center. You're not setting the goal and forgetting about it. It's always there for you. And then two, use that and go even deeper, right? In the weekly view, I asked for, what income do you want to make this month? So basically what you would do is just take because you've already determined how much you want to make every month. And again, just as a call out, don't forget to adjust for seasonalities in your life and your business. I mean, if you're in sales and maybe you have vacation time in July and you don't make as much, then obviously adjust for those months. So that way it's a true reflection of how your business or how your work goes. But just make sure that you write it down and you take account for it. But on those monthly, on your weekly view, so just take your monthly. So if your sales target, to keep the math simple, let's say for 1 month, let's say for February, it was $8,000 you want to make in February, and there's only 4 weeks in February. So just divide that 8,000 divided by 4, so that would give you 2,000. So every week on that weekly view, your income goal every week for February becomes 2,000. And that way you can adjust. I'm just keeping the math simple. Obviously, you can do it adjust for yours. But what I want you to know is just to ensure that you take your monthly sales target, divide it into the number of weeks in that given month for this year, and that becomes your weekly sales goals. And that way you can track it. And again, too, it's great because then you can kind of see how much you made. If you may need to run a special or an offering or something, it just allows you to adjust. Where that way, you're not waiting at the end of the year and you're like, oh no, I didn't make how much I wanted. Or even at the end of the month, you're thinking, I didn't make as much money in the month that I wanted. At least when you look at it on a weekly basis, it gives you an opportunity to adjust in the middle of that month to be able to maybe recoup those the sales that you're not getting, right? So hopefully that makes sense. And I wish this was live, that people were here. So in case you have any questions on that. But again, you can always email me at DLD for Dream Life Designer at myempoweredliving.com if you need me to go through or just answer anything specific or clarify what I just said, okay? So just make sure you have that. Another question that came up was somebody asked about what were deliverables. So on your weekly view, you have deliverables this week, personal commitments. So deliverables this week is more what needs to get done. So it's where your tasks, your goals, what you need to get done. And for me, I use it differently from personal commitments. For me, some deliverable this week could be, writing the first draft of my new book, right? Or it could be putting out the blog post and finalizing my new website. These are actually things that I have on my to-dos, right? So those are things that needs to get done. Or it could be finishing the business development plan for one of my clients, right? So these are sort of more professional tasks that needs to get done. And for me, my personal commitments are things that are more There's the health related ones, right? Like working out at least 5 times a week. It's being more, I think last year I did a lot of this, was always being present with my kids, being able to do that. Part of my personal commitments also was daily prayer and meditation, right? Or at least trying to. So I have that written there. So those are things that are more personal to me, that are not necessarily professional or business related. And if you feel that if you're in a week where you have a lot of tasks you want to get done, and feel free. This is your planner. You can adjust it. These are some best practices, but feel free to adjust and use it as you see fit. But I would say, when you start the week, really read your affirmations of the week, right? I really set the intention, and when I did the affirmations, to guide you. And for me, when I had the last year when I did my planners for the first time, and I would open up the new week and I look at the planner and of the new week of the planner, and it always was something that resonated with me. And so I want you to open up each week, read the planner on a daily basis. Read read the plan, read the affirmation. Every day as you look at it, read the affirmation again and sit with that affirmation. Let that affirmation be your guide for that week, right? And sit with it. That's going to help you. Again, it's all about being in that energy of what you want, and being in that energy of abundance, of joy, of your goals of being achieved. That's going to be able to help propel you to be able to achieve it even more. Okay. Yeah, and then I think the last thing I have for you is really, when you're writing down your goals, because every month you write down your goals. I always just say, write from a place of inspiration and possibilities. Okay? Doesn't matter what you did last year. Doesn't matter. This is a new year, right? If you, the beautiful thing, people talk about manifestation and all that stuff, but if you write something and you show up in that energy on a consistent basis, you have no choice but to have and become it. It's the energy that you show up with. That's the whole thing. This is why people, inspiration is so important, motivation is so important. You need to have it consistently, because yes, it doesn't last, but how can you put different things along your life to help put you in that energy? And so my hope is, with the affirmations, with some of those things, and with writing every month, you're coming for a new month, and you're seeing it with a fresh lens, fresh opportunity. You're writing it out, you're seeing the possibility, and you're in that energy of possibility, and you show up every single month, every week, every day in that. It's inevitable. Your goals will happen. Your goals will happen, right? So you'll have your off days. That's okay. Honor your feelings, honor where you're at, and then show up. And then think to yourself, what would it take? What would it take for my goals to happen? How would it feel? What would it be like? And sit with that, sit in that energy, because it's that energy that's going to propel you forward. It's that energy that's going to help you maintain the momentum when, half everybody else have just given up on their goals, right? That's going to be the energy that's going to keep you moving forward. And before you know it, you have designed your dream life, right? And you're living it. And that's my goal for you. That is my goal. It's really, become a dream life designer. Again, thank you for showing up. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for buying the planners. I honestly really hope it serves you in such a big way. The system has helped my clients. The systems has helped me in the past, and why I develop it in the way that I've developed it. If you have any questions, please email me, dld@myempoweredliving.com. And I hope you have an amazing time. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. And I have to get this links out to everybody, because I'm still getting messages about the original link not working, which I apologize for. Hopefully you use the planners on a consistent basis, because honestly, it will work, but it only works if you work it, right? That's just with everything in life. So it only works if you work it. So here's to becoming a dream life designer. Here is to amazing, amazing, amazing 2018. Your dreams are possible. Your goals are possible. It is a done deal. Just believe. All right. Thank you. Have a great one.